Elena Santos pressed her cleaning cloth against the mahogany table, her knuckles white, her breath caught in her throat. Bradley Hayes' Harvard class ring clinked against his water glass as he laughed. "Translate this and my salary will be yours," Marcus Whitfield announced, waving the Mandarin document like a victory flag. $31,500, cash, 1 day's work. The executives erupted in laughter. Bradley leaned forward, pointing directly at Elena. "Maybe the cleaning lady wants to try. Tell me, sweetheart, do they teach Chinese in housekeeping school?" More laughter, sharper, crueler. Elena's phone buzzed against her thigh. She knew without looking. The hospital, her mother, $28,000 in 72 hours. Or they pull the plug on treatment. She stared at the document in Marcus's hand. She knew every character, every nuance, every hidden meaning. Her father had taught her. The same father this company had destroyed 7 years ago. Before we continue this incredible journey, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel and follow Elena's story to the very end. Leave a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels across the world. Now let me tell you how an invisible cleaning woman brought a billionaire empire to its knees. Elena's hands were still trembling when she pushed her cleaning cart into the supply closet. She closed the door behind her and pressed her back against the cold metal shelving. The mops and chemical bottles surrounded her like silent witnesses to her humiliation. $31,500, she whispered into the darkness. And I can't say a word. Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, her fingers clumsy with fear. "Miss Santos, this is Bay Area Medical Center Billing Department. Your mother's insurance claim has been denied for the second time. The outstanding balance of $28,000 must be paid within 72 hours or we will be forced to discontinue treatment. Please contact us immediately." Elena read the message 3 times. Each time the words cut deeper. 72 hours, 3 days. Her mother had 3 days to live unless Elena could find $28,000. She had $17 in her checking account, $43 hidden in a coffee can at home. Her next paycheck, assuming she still had a job, would be $412. The math didn't work. The math never worked. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered anyway. "Miss Santos," a woman's voice cold and professional. "This is Rebecca Chen from the billing department. I wanted to follow up on our message." "I just received it." "Good. Then you understand the urgency. Your mother's condition is deteriorating. The blood clot in her brain requires immediate intervention. Without continued treatment—" "I understand." Elena's voice cracked. "I understand what happens. Do you have the funds available, Miss Santos?" "I'm working on it." A pause, then softer. "I've seen your file. I know you've been paying what you can. Small amounts every month, never missing a payment. That matters to some of us here. But hospital policy is hospital policy." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you have 72 hours. Use them wisely." The call ended. Elena stared at her phone, watching the screen fade to black. In the darkness of the supply closet, surrounded by the smell of bleach and despair, Elena Santos made herself a promise. She would find the money, she would save her mother, and she would make Marcus Whitfield pay for every humiliation her family had suffered. She just had to figure out how. The silver fountain pen in her pocket pressed against her thigh. Her father's pen. The last gift he ever gave her 2 weeks before the cancer took him. She pulled it out now, running her fingers over the inscription she knew by heart. "Knowledge opens doors." 4 languages, 4 different scripts. English, Spanish, Mandarin, French. Her father had believed those words. He had lived them. He had taught Elena to live them too. "Languages are bridges, mija." He used to say, his voice gentle as he guided her hand across the page. "They connect worlds that think they are separate. When you speak someone's language, you tell them, 'I see you, I respect you, you matter.'" Miguel Santos had spoken 7 languages fluently. He had built Whitfield Technologies' entire Asian division from nothing. 15 years of his life poured into making Marcus Whitfield rich. And what had he received in return? A pink slip, a blacklist, a death sentence. Elena remembered the night her father came home from his final interview. His face was gray. His hands were shaking. "They won't hire me," he told her mother. "None of them. Marcus has made calls. He told everyone I stole proprietary information, that I can't be trusted." "But that's a lie," Carmen had protested. "You built that information. It came from your mind." "It doesn't matter whose mind it came from. It matters whose name is on the building." 6 months later, Miguel Santos was dead. Lung cancer stage 4, discovered too late because he had lost his health insurance along with his job. The medical bills had consumed everything. The house, the savings, the future Elena had been promised. And Marcus Whitfield had never even sent a card. Now, 7 years later, Elena cleaned the offices where her father had once commanded respect. She emptied the trash cans of men who weren't fit to shine Miguel Santos's shoes. She wiped coffee rings from tables where billion-dollar deals were discussed in languages she understood better than the people making them. The irony was so bitter she could taste it. But irony didn't pay hospital bills. Irony didn't save mothers from dying alone in sterile rooms. Only money did that. And money required courage Elena wasn't sure she possessed. She slipped out of the supply closet and nearly collided with someone. Watch it. Bradley Hayes stood there adjusting his silk tie, looking at her with the expression he might give a piece of furniture that had moved unexpectedly. "Sorry, sir," Elena mumbled, lowering her eyes. "These hallways aren't for loitering. Don't you have toilets to scrub?" "Yes, sir. I was just getting supplies." Bradley studied her face. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, suspicion, Elena couldn't tell. "You're the one who works the executive floor," he said slowly. "Elena something." "Santos, sir." "Santos." He repeated the name like he was tasting it. "That's familiar. Where do I know that name from?" Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. Did he know? Had he connected her to her father? "It's a common name, sir. Very common in California." Bradley's eyes narrowed. "Well, Santos, stay out of the way during the translation project. We have important work to do, work that requires actual education." "Yes, sir?" "Shit." He walked away, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the marble floor. Each step confident, each movement certain of its place in the world. Elena watched him go, hatred burning in her chest. That man had been at the meeting where her father was fired. She had seen his signature on the termination documents. Bradley Hayes, VP of Operations, recommending immediate separation due to strategic realignment needs. Strategic realignment. Corporate poetry for destroying a man's life. Elena returned to her cart and pushed it toward the elevator. The afternoon stretched ahead of her, filled with invisible work for invisible people, but her mind was racing. $31,500. That's what Marcus had offered. More than enough to save her mother and pay the back rent and maybe, just maybe, start breathing again. All she had to do was step forward, claim her gift, prove her worth, and risk everything she had left. The executive floor was chaos when Elena arrived. Voices spilled out of the main conference room, urgent voices, panicked voices. She parked her cart by the wall and began dusting a shelf that didn't need dusting, positioning herself close enough to hear. "The deadline is Friday morning," someone was saying. "Shanghai Dynamics wants an answer in 72 hours or they take the deal to Samsung." "Can't we get an extension?" "David Chen doesn't do extensions. You know his reputation." "Then we need to translate this document, all 35 pages, in 2 days." "With what team? Jennifer's in Taiwan. Her assistants are at that conference in Singapore. We have nobody." Elena recognized the voice that answered. Marcus Whitfield, calm and controlled, the voice of a man who had never truly worried about anything in his life. "Then we find somebody, post the job tonight, offer premium rates." "For a document this confidential, Bradley Hayes cut in. "Every translator in Silicon Valley will leak it within hours. We might as well email it directly to our competitors." "Then what do you suggest, Bradley?" A pause. Elena leaned closer, her dust cloth moving in meaningless circles. "I suggest we handle it internally," Bradley said. "Use translation software for the first pass. Clean it up manually. It's not elegant, but it's secure. And accurate. Accurate enough. These deals are mostly boilerplate anyway." Elena winced. She had seen enough of the document to know Bradley was catastrophically wrong. This wasn't boilerplate. This was complex technical language with cultural nuances that no software could capture. If they relied on machine translation, they would miss everything important. The hidden requirements, the conditional clauses, the traps waiting to spring. They would destroy themselves without ever understanding how. Part of Elena wanted to let them. Let Marcus Whitfield sign a contract that would blow up in his face. Let Bradley Hayes take the fall for incompetence. Let the whole rotten company collapse under the weight of its own arrogance. But another part of her remembered the other people who would suffer. The secretaries, the mailroom workers, the cleaning staff, the hundreds of invisible people who depended on Whitfield Technologies for their paychecks. People like her. People like Jerome, the security guard who always asked about her mother. People like Mrs. Patterson, who watched Carmen during Elena's night shifts. If Whitfield Technologies collapsed, they would all go down with it. The conference room door opened. Executives streamed out, clutching copies of the Shanghai Dynamics document, their faces tight with stress. Elena kept her head down, dusting invisible. Bradley Hayes paused beside her cart. "You're still here. Just finishing the floor, sir? Finish faster." He glanced at the document in his hand, then back at Elena. "Actually, wait. You speak Spanish, right?" Elena's breath caught. "A little, sir. My grandmother." "I don't care about your grandmother. Can you read it?" "Read what, sir?" Bradley waved the document. "Never mind. Stupid question. Go back to your cleaning." He walked away, leaving Elena standing there with her heart pounding and her mind racing. He had almost asked her. For one moment, Bradley Hayes had almost considered that a cleaning woman might be useful for something besides scrubbing toilets. The moment had passed, but it had existed. That night, Elena sat beside her mother's hospital bed, holding the frail hand that had once held hers. Carmen Santos had been beautiful once. Elena had seen the photographs. A young woman with bright eyes and a brighter smile, standing beside a young man who looked at her like she hung the moon. That woman was gone now. In her place lay a shell. Thin, pale, broken by strokes and heartbreak and the relentless cruelty of a country that had promised her a dream and delivered a nightmare. "Mama," Elena whispered, "I need to tell you something." Carmen's eyes fluttered open. She couldn't speak anymore. The second stroke had stolen that, but her eyes could still listen. "There's a chance," Elena continued. "A chance to get the money. Enough for your surgery. Enough for everything." Carmen's fingers tightened slightly. "But it means revealing myself. Showing them what I can do, and if I do that," Elena's voice broke. "If I do that, Bradley Hayes will investigate. He already recognized our name. He'll find out about Papa. He'll find out about your visa." Carmen's eyes widened with fear. "I know, Mama. I know what they could do. Deportation. Sending you back to China. Away from me. Away from your doctors." Tears slipped down Carmen's weathered cheeks. "But if I don't do something, you'll die. The hospital said 72 hours. That's all we have." Elena pressed her forehead against her mother's hand. "What do I do, Mama? What would Papa want me to do?" For a long moment, Carmen was still. Then her fingers began to move against Elena's palm. Slowly, deliberately, drawing characters that Elena had learned before she could walk. Chow Bridge. Then another character. Gian Build. Build a bridge. Elena looked up at her mother. Carmen's eyes were fierce now, burning with something that illness could not extinguish. "Build a bridge," Elena translated. "Even when you're scared. Even when it seems impossible." Carmen nodded once. A tiny movement that cost her enormous effort. Elena kissed her mother's forehead. "Okay, Mama. Okay. I'll find a way." She left the hospital at midnight, her mind churning with half-formed plans. Direct confrontation was too risky. Bradley Hayes would destroy her if she walked into that conference room and announced she could translate Mandarin. He would dig into her past. He would find her father's blacklist. He would discover her mother's expired visa. But what if she didn't confront them directly? What if she proved her value first anonymously before anyone knew who she was? The idea took shape as Elena rode the night bus home. By the time she reached her apartment, she had a plan. Saturday morning, Elena used her keycard to enter Whitfield Technologies through the service entrance. Jerome was at his usual post, looking surprised to see her. "Elena, you're not on the weekend schedule." "Picked up an extra shift," she said. "Mama needs medicine." Jerome's face softened. He was a grandfather himself. He understood. "Go on through. Building's empty. Big shots don't work weekends." Elena thanked him and headed for the elevator. The executive floor was dark and silent. The conference room, when she reached it, showed the aftermath of Friday's panic. Whiteboards covered with failed translation attempts. Printouts scattered across the table. Coffee cups growing mold beside half-eaten sandwiches. Elena moved quickly, cleaning as cover her eyes, scanning the translation attempts. The mistakes were everywhere. They had translated exclusive manufacturing rights as friendly production opportunity. They had interpreted quality control protocols as general guidelines. They had completely missed the workforce reduction clause. Elena pulled out her father's silver pen and a small notepad. Her hand moved fast, writing corrections in English alongside the Chinese characters. She kept the corrections limited, specific enough to demonstrate expertise, vague enough to leave room for doubt. At the bottom, she signed it Night Owl. She placed the note on the conference table, weighted it with an empty coffee cup, and slipped away. Let them wonder, she thought. Let them need me before they know me. Sunday morning brought chaos. Elena arrived at 7 early for her shift, parking her cart by the executive elevator. Voices reached her before she could see the speakers. "Who the hell is Night Owl?" Bradley. Hayes's voice was sharp enough to draw blood. "Security has no record of unauthorized entry," someone answered. "Only cleaning staff were in the building." "Then one of the cleaners did this, some janitor with a dictionary." Elena crept closer, pretending to organize her supplies. "The corrections are accurate, though." That was Priya Sharma, the nervous analyst. "I cross-referenced everything. Whoever wrote this knows exactly what they're doing." A pause. Elena held her breath. "Let me see that." Bradley's voice had changed. Calculating now instead of angry. Through the gap in the doorway, Elena watched him study her note. She saw the moment his expression shifted. Saw him glance around the room to make sure no one was watching too closely. Then he did something that made her blood turn to ice. He pocketed her note and smiled. "Actually," Bradley announced, "I made these corrections myself. I've been studying Mandarin privately. Didn't want to mention it until I was more fluent." "You speak Chinese?" someone asked, impressed. "Enough to help. Let's use this momentum, people. Marcus expects progress by tomorrow." Elena backed away from the door, her hands shaking with rage. He had stolen her work. Without hesitation. Without shame. He had looked at her anonymous gift and decided it belonged to him. Just like this company had stolen her father's work. Just like they had stolen her family's future. She wanted to burst through that door and expose him. She wanted to scream the truth until everyone understood what kind of man Bradley Hayes really was. But she couldn't. Not yet. Not without proof. Not without a plan. She retreated to her cleaning cart, her mind racing. That night, Elena didn't go home. She found an empty office on a lower floor and spread her photographed pages of the Shanghai Dynamics document across the desk. If Bradley wanted to play games, she would play too, but she would play smarter. She worked through the night, translating page after page, documenting everything. Her father's silver pen moved across paper like it remembered the work Miguel Santos had done in this very building. By dawn, she had completed 45% of the document. She had also discovered something that stopped her heart. Page 23. A section about intellectual property rights, and there buried in dense legal language was a name she never expected to see. Miguel Santos. She read the passage 3 times, certain she was hallucinating. Building upon the foundational semiconductor research conducted by Monsieur Santos during his tenure at Whitfield Technologies, 2004-2017, Shanghai Dynamics proposes joint development of next-generation thermal management systems. Her father's work, the research that had been stolen from him, the innovations he had created before they threw him away like garbage. It was all there. Shanghai Dynamics wasn't just offering a partnership. They were offering to return what had been taken, to acknowledge Miguel Santos's contributions, to pay royalties to his estate. If translated correctly, this document could change everything. If translated incorrectly, or worse, if hidden deliberately, her father would be erased from history forever. Elena sat back, tears streaming down her face. This wasn't just about money anymore. This wasn't just about saving her mother. This was about justice, about legacy, about proving that Miguel Santos had mattered. And Bradley Hayes was about to bury it all. Monday arrived with a phone call that shattered what remained of Elena's composure. "Miss Santos, this is Dr. Williams at Bay Area Medical Center." Elena gripped the phone so hard her knuckles went white. "What happened is my mother." "Your mother experienced another stroke overnight, a small one but significant. We've stabilized her, but we need to perform emergency surgery within the next 12 hours. 12 hours. The blood clot is growing. If we don't remove it today, the damage could be..." Dr. Williams paused. "Irreversible." "Then do the surgery, please. Do whatever you need to do." "I wish it were that simple. The procedure is not covered by insurance. The cost, including operating room fees and specialist consultations, will be approximately $45,000. $45,000, Elena's voice rose. "You said $28,000 before. That was for continued treatment. Surgery is additional, and given the outstanding balance on your account, the hospital requires a deposit before we can proceed." "How much from $20,000 by 3 o'clock this afternoon?" Elena looked at her watch. 9:17 in the morning. Less than 6 hours to find $20,000. "I'll have it," she heard herself say. "I'll have it by 3. "Miss Santos, I have to be direct with you. If you can't provide the deposit, we will have to transfer your mother to a county facility. The level of care there is different." "I understand." "I hope you do. I truly hope you do." The call ended. Elena stood in the middle of her empty apartment. Her mother's hospital bed visible through the bedroom door, the sheets still rumpled from Carmen's last night at home. 6 hours, $20,000. The only way to get that money was waiting on the 38th floor of Whitfield Technologies. Elena had run out of time to be afraid. She called in sick to her morning shift, then spent 2 hours preparing. She gathered every piece of evidence she had: the photographs of the document, her translation notes, her father's research journals, her translationbridge.com profile showing her professional credentials. She dressed carefully, not her cleaning uniform, a simple black dress her mother had sewn for her college graduation, the graduation she had never attended because life had gotten in the way. She looked at herself in the mirror. A stranger looked back. Someone who might actually belong in a corporate boardroom instead of pushing a cart through its hallways. "You can do this," she told the stranger. "Papa believed in you. Mama believes in you. Now believe in yourself." The silver pen went into her pocket, her father's blessing, her only weapon. She arrived at Whitfield Technologies at 11:30. The receptionist looked up confused. "Can I help you?" "I'm here about the translation position," Elena said, her voice steady. "The Shanghai Dynamics document." "I'm sorry, that's an internal project. We're not accepting outside applications." "Tell Mr. Whitfield that I can read the document, all of it, and I can do it before his deadline." The receptionist hesitated. "Ma'am, I really can't—" "Tell him," Elena repeated. "Tell him the Night Owl is here to finish the job." The words landed like a bomb. The receptionist's eyes widened. "Wait here," she said, reaching for her phone. 3 minutes later, Elena was in the elevator rising toward the 38th floor. The conference room fell silent when she walked in. 12 executives sat around the long mahogany table. Marcus Whitfield at the head, Bradley Hayes at his right hand, Priya Sharma and the others scattered along the sides. And in the corner next to the door, a cleaning cart. Her cleaning cart. Bradley saw her first. His face went through shock confusion, then cold fury in the space of a heartbeat. "What is this?" he demanded. "What is she doing here?" Elena walked to the table and placed her folder in front of Marcus Whitfield. "My name is Elena Santos," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I've worked as a cleaning woman on this floor for 6 years. I'm also a professional translator with fluency in Mandarin, Spanish, French, and English. I created the Night Owl corrections that Mr. Hayes has been taking credit for, and I can translate your Shanghai Dynamics document completely and accurately before tomorrow's deadline." The room erupted. "This is absurd," Bradley sputtered. "She's just a cleaner. She's lying to get attention." "I have proof." Elena opened her folder. "My translationbridge.com profile. 847 completed translations. 4.97 rating. Client testimonials from 3 continents. Marcus Whitfield studied the documents, his expression unreadable. "I also have this." Elena pulled out her father's research journal. "My father was Miguel Santos. He built your Asian division over 15 years. He created the semiconductor research that this Shanghai Dynamics deal is based on, the same research that's mentioned by name on page 23 of the document you're trying to translate." Bradley's face went pale. "That's confidential information. How do you—" "Because I can read it." Elena cut him off. "Every page, every clause, every hidden meaning that your translation software missed." She turned to Marcus. "You offered $31,500 for this translation. I'm here to collect. Not because I want your money, but because my mother is dying in a hospital bed and I have 6 hours to save her life." The room was utterly silent. Marcus Whitfield leaned forward, studying Elena with new interest. "Page 23, he said slowly. "What does it say about this Miguel Santos?" Elena didn't hesitate. "It says that Shanghai Dynamics acknowledges his foundational research in thermal management systems. It proposes joint development rights with royalties to his estate. It's an apology, Mr. Whitfield. In business language. The kind of apology you never offered when you destroyed his career." Bradley slammed his hand on the table. "This is a setup. She's working for our competitors. She probably stole that document and—" "I photographed it while I was cleaning this room," Elena said calmly. "The same way I've watched you steal credit for work you didn't do. The same way I've watched you manipulate translations to hide the layoff clauses. The same way I've watched you lie to everyone in this room." "Layoff clauses," Marcus's voice sharpened. "What layoff clauses?" Elena pulled out another sheet. "Page 16, paragraph 4. The document requires Whitfield Technologies to eliminate 600 positions within 90 days of signing. Mr. Hayes translated it as staff optimization opportunities. The actual characters specify mandatory workforce reduction." All eyes turned to Bradley. "That's..." That's a misinterpretation, he stammered. The software didn't write staff optimization opportunities, Elena said. You did. I watched you type it. Marcus Whitfield stood slowly. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were not. They were the eyes of a man who had just realized he was standing on the edge of a cliff. Mr. Hayes, he said quietly, leave the room. Marcus, you can't possibly believe... Now. Bradley's face twisted with rage. He pointed at Elena. You think you've won something. You think this changes anything. I know who you are, Elena Santos. I know about your mother's visa. I know about your father's blacklist. One phone call to immigration and your whole family. Get out, Marcus repeated. Security will escort you to your office to collect your belongings. Your employment is terminated. You can't do this. My lawyers will... Your lawyers will defend you against fraud, against sabotage, against deliberately mistranslating a document that could have cost this company hundreds of millions of dollars. Bradley opened his mouth, closed it, then stormed out of the room. The door slammed behind him. Elena stood alone before the remaining executives, her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. Marcus Whitfield looked at her for a long moment. $31,500, he said finally. That was my offer. Yes. And you need it by 3 o'clock today. My mother needs surgery. The hospital needs a deposit. Marcus nodded slowly. Then he did something Elena never expected. He pulled out his checkbook. Complete the translation by tomorrow morning, he said, writing quickly. Every page, every clause, every hidden meaning. He tore the check from the book and held it out to her. $50,000, he said. The extra is for your father. Consider it long overdue back pay. Elena's hand trembled as she took the check. The numbers blurred through her tears. Don't thank me yet, Marcus added. You have 18 hours of work ahead of you. And if I find out you've lied about anything at all, this check will be the least of your problems. Elena wiped her eyes and straightened her spine. I haven't lied, she said. I've been invisible. There's a difference. She picked up her father's silver pen and pulled the Shanghai Dynamics document toward her. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Whitfield, I have a translation to complete. The executives watched in stunned silence as Elena Santos, cleaning woman, hidden genius daughter of the man they had destroyed, began to write. At 2:47 that afternoon, Elena walked into Bay Area Medical Center with a certified check for $20,000. The surgery was scheduled for 4 o'clock. Her mother would live. But as Elena sat in the waiting room watching the minutes tick toward 4, her phone buzzed with a message that turned her blood to ice. Unknown number, unknown sender. But the words were clear enough. You think Bradley Hayes is finished? You think Marcus Whitfield is your friend? You don't know what's coming. Little cleaning woman, you don't know what you've started. Watch your back. Watch your mother, because the real game begins now. Elena stared at the screen, her hand trembling. She had won the battle, but the war had just begun. The surgery lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Elena sat in the waiting room, her father's silver pen clutched in one hand, her phone clutched in the other. The threatening message glowed on the screen, each word burning itself into her memory. You don't know what you've started. She read it again and again and again. Who had sent it, Bradley Hayes, seemed the obvious answer. But Bradley had been escorted from the building by security. His access cards had been deactivated. His computer had been seized. Unless he had allies. Unless someone else in Whitfield Technologies wanted her destroyed. Elena looked at the clock. 6:23 p.m. She had less than 15 hours to translate the remaining 55% of the Shanghai Dynamics document. 15 hours to prove she was worth the $50,000 Marcus Whitfield had given her. 15 hours before the deadline that would determine her entire future, and her mother was still on an operating table with her skull cut open. Miss Santos! Elena jumped. A nurse stood before her wearing surgical scrubs and a cautious expression. Your mother is out of surgery. The procedure was successful. Elena's breath escaped in a sob. She's okay. She's going to be okay. The clot has been removed. The next 48 hours are critical, but Dr. Williams is optimistic. Your mother is a fighter. Can I see her? She's in recovery, unconscious. But yes, you can see her. Elena followed the nurse through sterile corridors that smelled of antiseptic and fear. Her mother lay in a narrow bed surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. Carmen Santos looked smaller than ever, fragile, breakable, but alive. Elena took her mother's hand. I did it, Mama. I stepped forward. I built the bridge. Carmen's fingers twitched slightly, a reflex perhaps, or maybe something more. I have to go back now, Elena continued, her voice breaking. I have to finish what I started, But I'll be here tomorrow morning, I promise. And when you wake up, everything will be different." She kissed her mother's forehead and forced herself to walk away. The clock read 7:41 p.m. when Elena returned to Whitfield Technologies. The security guard at the front desk was different from Jerome, a younger man she didn't recognize with suspicious eyes and a clipboard. "Name and purpose." "Elena Santos. I'm working on the Shanghai Dynamics translation." The guard checked his list, then looked up sharply. "You're the cleaning lady." "I was the cleaning lady. Now I'm a translator. Mr. Whitfield authorized my access." "ID?" Elena handed over her employee badge. The guard studied it, studied her face, studied the badge again. "This says maintenance staff." "Call Mr. Whitfield's office. They'll confirm." The guard picked up his phone, dialed, spoke quietly. His expression shifted from suspicion to confusion to something approaching respect. "Go on up, Miss Santos. Conference room B on 38. They're expecting you." Elena rode the elevator alone, watching the numbers climb. 35, 36, 37, 38. The doors opened onto chaos. The executive floor was transformed. Where there had been empty offices that morning, there were now clusters of people working frantically. Laptops glowing, phones ringing, printers humming. Priya Sharma intercepted her before she could reach the conference room. "Elena, thank God you're here." The young analyst looked exhausted, her usually neat hair escaping from its clip. "Everything's falling apart." "What happened?" "Bradley. Before security could lock down his accounts, he deleted files, corrupted backups. We've lost half our research on the Shanghai deal." Elena's stomach dropped. "The translation attempts? Gone? Everything the team worked on this weekend. Gone." "But I have copies. I photographed Shaw." "We know. Marcus knows. That's why he needs you. You're the only one who still has the complete picture." Priya led her to conference room B. Inside, Marcus Whitfield stood at the head of the table, his jacket discarded, his sleeves rolled up his face, showing the first signs of strain Elena had ever seen on him. "Miss Santos." His voice was controlled, but barely. "We have a problem." "I heard about Bradley's sabotage." "That's not the problem. That's an inconvenience. The problem is this." He slid a tablet across the table. Elena picked it up and felt her blood freeze. A news article, published 37 minutes ago. The headline screamed in bold letters, "Whitfield Technologies made, claims executive secrets. Former VP says cleaning woman stole confidential documents." The byline was a technology reporter Elena had never heard of, but the quotes were unmistakable. Bradley Hayes, recently terminated vice president of operations, alleges that Elena Santos, a member of the cleaning staff, gained unauthorized access to sensitive documents over a period of several years. "She's been photographing our materials, building a dossier," Hayes claimed. "I caught her in the act and was fired for reporting it." Elena's hands shook. "This is lies. All of it." "I know that, but the internet doesn't care about truth. It cares about stories. And a cleaning woman stealing secrets from a billionaire's company is a very good story." "What do we do?" Marcus took the tablet back. "We have two choices. First, we cancel the Shanghai Dynamics deal, issue a statement distancing ourselves from you, and hope this blows over. And the second choice, we succeed so spectacularly that nobody remembers the scandal. We close the biggest partnership in company history, announce you as our new Director of International Relations, and turn Bradley's accusations into a story about corporate jealousy and missed talent." Elena stared at him. "Director of International Relations? I've been thinking about it since this morning. Your skills are wasted pushing a cleaning cart. I'd rather have you at the table than under it. And if I fail, if the translation isn't good enough?" Marcus's expression hardened. "Then we're both destroyed. My company, your reputation, everything." He checked his watch. "You have 14 hours and 6 minutes. I suggest you start now." The conference room became Elena's war room. Priya brought her coffee sandwiches, legal pads, pens. Someone produced a laptop configured with secure translation software that Elena ignored completely. She worked by hand. The silver pen her father had given her. The instincts he had trained into her bones. The language that had been her secret for so long. It felt strange to use it openly. Page by page, she rebuilt what Bradley had destroyed. The first hour passed in focused silence. Elena translated technical specifications for semiconductor manufacturing, cross-referencing terms with her father's old notebooks. The work was familiar, almost comfortable, like slipping into a native tongue after years of speaking a foreign language. At 9:30 p.m., Priya knocked on the door. "There's a call for you. Someone named Jerome." Elena's heart stuttered. Jerome, the security guard, her friend. She picked up the phone. "Jerome, what's wrong?" "Elena, I don't have much time." His voice was hushed, urgent. "Something's happening. Men came to the building about an hour ago, suits. Government types. They're asking questions about you." "What kind of questions?" "Immigration questions. They have files, Elena. Files about your mother." The room tilted. "Who sent them?" "Was it Bradley?" "I don't know, but they're going through personnel records, pulling everything they can find on Carmen Santos. I thought you should know." "Jerome, thank you. Just be careful. These people don't play games." The line went dead. Elena stared at the phone in her hand. Her mother was unconscious in a hospital bed, recovering from brain surgery. And somewhere in this building, government agents were building a case to deport her. "Elena?" Priya's voice cut through the fog. "What is it? What's wrong?" "Nothing." Elena forced the word out. "Nothing I can deal with right now." She returned to her translation, but her hands were shaking. The characters blurred before her eyes. Focus. She had to focus. Her mother's survival depended on this job. Her mother's freedom might depend on it too. At 11:15 p.m. Marcus returned with news that made everything worse. Shanghai Dynamics moved up the deadline. David Chen wants to do the video call at 8 a.m. instead of 9. "That's not possible. I still have 20 pages left." "Then translate faster." "Mr. Whitfield, this isn't a cleaning job. I can't just scrub harder and finish sooner. These are complex technical documents with legal implications." "I'm aware of what they are. I'm also aware that if we miss this deadline, the deal goes to Samsung. And if the deal goes to Samsung, I lose approximately $300 million. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. "I also lose the ability to protect you from whatever Bradley Hayes is planning. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Elena understood perfectly. Marcus Whitfield wasn't her ally. He was her employer, and employers protected assets, not people. "I'll have it done," she said. "One way or another." The clock read 1:47 a.m. when Elena discovered the trap. She was translating page 29, a section about profit-sharing arrangements, when she noticed the discrepancy. A character that didn't belong. A phrase that changed the meaning of an entire paragraph. She went back to the original document, then to her photographs, then back to the original. The documents didn't match. Someone had altered the original. Changed a single character that transformed equal partnership into subordinate licensing agreement. If Elena had translated the altered document, she would have handed Shanghai Dynamics complete control over Whitfield Technologies' intellectual property. Every patent, every innovation, every piece of technology the company had ever created, including her father's work. Elena's hands went cold. This wasn't Bradley's sabotage. Bradley had been fired before he could access the original documents. This was something else. Someone else. Someone still inside the company. She photographed the discrepancy, then continued translating from her earlier photographs of the original. Her fingers moved faster now, driven by fear and fury. Who had access to the documents? Who would benefit from Whitfield Technologies losing everything? The questions circled in her mind as the hours passed. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. At 4:30, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your mother's room, now." Elena's blood turned to ice. She grabbed her phone and called the hospital, her fingers fumbling over the numbers. "Bay Area Medical Center, how may I direct your call, Somat?" "Carmen Santos's room, please, it's an emergency." "One moment." The hold music lasted 17 seconds, the longest 17 seconds of Elena's life. "Recovery unit, this is Nurse Williams." "My mother, Carmen Santos, is she okay? Is she—" "Miss Santos, your mother is fine. She's sleeping peacefully. Has anyone been to see her? Anyone unusual?" A pause. "There was a man about an hour ago. He said he was family. We didn't let him in because visiting hours were over." "What did he look like?" "Tall, blonde hair, expensive suit. He seemed upset when we turned him away." "Bradley. It had to be Bradley." "Don't let anyone near her room," Elena said, her voice shaking. "No one except medical staff. Do you understand? No one. Miss Santos, what's going on? Just keep her safe, please. I'll explain everything tomorrow." She hung up and stared at the text message again. "Check your mother's room, now." A warning, a threat. Or something in between, Elena didn't know. She only knew that the walls were closing in. At 5:15 a.m., she made a decision. She pulled out her phone and scrolled to a number she hadn't called in 3 years. A number she had sworn never to call again. A number that belonged to a man who had once offered to help her and whom she had refused out of pride. David Chen, CEO of Shanghai Dynamics, her father's oldest friend. The phone rang twice. Wei? A sleepy voice speaking Mandarin. Mr. Chen? This is Elena Santos, Miguel Santos's daughter. A long pause. Then sharply awake. Elena, I heard what happened today. The confrontation with Whitfield. The news articles. Everything. You know about the news articles. My team monitors everything related to this deal. When your name appeared, I was surprised. Mr. Chen, I need to tell you something I've discovered. Go on. Someone has altered the original documents, changed key terms to make the agreement heavily favor Shanghai Dynamics. If I hadn't caught it, Whitfield Technologies would have signed away everything. Silence on the other end. Mr. Chen. I'm here, I'm thinking. Another pause. Elena, the alterations you describe, they're not random. They're specific, targeted. What do you mean? 3 weeks ago, I received an anonymous message. Someone offering to guarantee the deal would close in our favor, for a price. Elena's heart pounded. Did you accept? I am many things, Elena, but I am not a thief. I refused, but someone else may not have been so principled. Someone inside Whitfield Technologies. Or someone who used to be inside. Chen's voice hardened. This Bradley Hayes. What do you know about him? He was VP of Operations. He was fired yesterday after I exposed him taking credit for my work. Before that, his history, his connections. Elena thought back. He has a Harvard MBA. He joined Whitfield 5 years ago. He was close to Marcus Whitfield, very close. Close enough to know the company's vulnerabilities. Yes. Then we have a problem, Elena Santos, because someone is trying to destroy both our companies, and they're using this deal to do it. The video call was scheduled for 8 a.m. At 7:45, Elena was still translating. Her eyes burned, her hands cramped, her mind screamed for sleep, but she was so close. 3 pages left. 2 pages. 1. At 7:53 a.m., she wrote the final character. Done, she breathed. It's done. Priya rushed in, grabbed the completed translation, and began scanning it into the system. Marcus Whitfield appeared moments later, looking as exhausted as Elena felt. Is it ready? Ready. And the alterations you found? Documented, photographed. I've prepared a separate report. Marcus nodded slowly. David Chen called me an hour ago. He told me about your conversation. Elena's stomach tightened. I should have told you first. I'm sorry. You should have, but you didn't, and now we have to deal with reality. He glanced at his watch. 5 minutes. Are you ready for this? I've been ready my whole life. The conference room filled quickly. Executives Elena recognized. Lawyers she didn't. Technical specialists checking equipment. Everyone nervous. Everyone watching the clock. At exactly 8 a.m., the screen flickered to life. David Chen appeared flanked by his own team of executives. He was older than Elena expected, with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. Mr. Whitfield, he said in precise English. Shall we begin? Mr. Chen, thank you for your flexibility with the schedule. Time is money, as you Americans say, and this deal has cost us both enough time already. Chen's eyes moved across the screen. I see Miss Santos is present. Good. I prefer to negotiate with people who actually understand what they're negotiating. Marcus stiffened slightly but recovered quickly. Miss Santos has prepared the complete translation. She's also discovered some irregularities in the documents. Ah, yes, the alterations. Chen leaned forward. Miss Santos, perhaps you could explain what you found. Elena stood, her heart hammering. Every eye in both conference rooms turned toward her. 3 days ago, she began, someone modified the original Shanghai Dynamics proposal. Specifically, a character on page 29 was changed from Ping to Fu, transforming equal partnership into subordinate licensing. She clicked to her first slide. The original character. The modified character, side by side. This single change would have given Shanghai Dynamics complete control over Whitfield Technologies' intellectual property portfolio, including patents developed by my father, Miguel Santos, which are specifically mentioned on page 23. Murmurs rippled through both rooms. I do not believe Shanghai Dynamics made this alteration, Elena continued. Based on my conversation with Mr. Chen, I believe a third party is attempting to sabotage this deal for their own purposes. And who might that third party be? One of Chen's lawyers asked. Elena took a breath. I believe it's Bradley Hayes, former VP of Operations at Whitfield Technologies. He had access to the documents, he had motive after being terminated, and he had connections. She clicked to her next slide. This morning I discovered that Bradley Hayes has been in contact with Samsung's acquisition team for the past 6 months. Emails obtained from his corporate account show ongoing negotiations for a consulting position contingent on the Shanghai Dynamics deal falling through. The room exploded. Marcus Whitfield shot to his feet. How did you access his emails? I didn't, but someone did. Elena pulled out her phone and read the text she had received at 6:15 that morning. Unknown sender, no return address, but the emails are genuine. I've verified the metadata. This is corporate espionage, one of the lawyers sputtered. This is survival, Elena replied. Mr. Hayes tried to destroy this deal. He tried to destroy my family, and he's still trying even now. She turned to face David Chen on the screen. Mr. Chen, my father trusted you. He called you his brother in everything but blood. I'm asking you now. Will you trust me? Will you move forward with this partnership despite everything that's happened? David Chen was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. Your father used to say that languages are bridges, he said softly, that they connect worlds that think they are separate. Elena's eyes filled with tears. You remember? I remember everything about Miguel Santos. He was the finest man I ever knew. Chen straightened in his chair. Yes, Miss Santos, I will trust you, and I will trust Whitfield Technologies provided certain conditions are met. Name them, how? Marcus said. First, Elena Santos must oversee all cultural and linguistic aspects of this partnership, permanently. I will not negotiate through intermediaries who cannot understand what they're reading. Marcus glanced at Elena, then nodded. Agreed. Second, full acknowledgement of Miguel Santos's contributions in all joint patents and publications. His name will be restored to the work that was stolen from him. Elena's breath caught. Mr. Chen? It is long overdue, child. Your father deserved better than what he received. Third, Chen continued, Bradley Hayes must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Corporate sabotage, document falsification, attempted fraud. I want him in prison, Mr. Whitfield, nothing less. Marcus's jaw tightened. That may take time. Then take the time, but make it happen, or this partnership ends the moment Hayes walks free. The negotiations continued for another 2 hours. Terms were discussed. Clauses were debated. Lawyers argued over language that Elena translated in real time, catching 2 more attempts at manipulation that had been embedded in the fine print. At 10:30 a.m., the final agreement was signed. David Chen raised a glass of what appeared to be tea. To new partnerships and old friendships restored. Marcus raised his coffee cup. To successful ventures. Elena raised nothing. She was too tired to lift her arms. But she was smiling. At 11:15 a.m., Elena walked out of Whitfield Technologies' main entrance into the San Francisco sunshine. Her phone showed 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and 1 voicemail from the hospital. She played the voicemail first. Miss Santos, this is Dr. Williams. Your mother woke up about an hour ago. She's asking for you. She's weak, but she's lucid, and she keeps saying one word over and over, bridge. Does that mean something to you? Elena laughed and cried at the same time. Yes, it meant everything. She was halfway to her car when she heard footsteps behind her. Elena Santos? She turned. A woman in a dark suit stood there, federal badge visible on her belt. Cold eyes, colder expression. I'm Agent Morrison, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I need you to come with me. Elena's blood froze. My mother just had brain surgery. I need to see her. Your mother is the reason I'm here. We have questions about Carmen Santos's immigration status and about yours. My status, I'm a citizen. I was born in Oakland. Your mother isn't, and harboring an undocumented immigrant is a federal crime. Agent Morrison stepped closer. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, Miss Santos. Your choice. Behind Agent Morrison, Elena saw a black SUV idling at the curb. Tinted windows, government plates. In the front seat, barely visible through the dark glass, sat Bradley Hayes. He was smiling. Elena stared at Bradley Hayes through the tinted glass. His smile was the smile of a man who had already won, a man who had planned this moment for days, maybe weeks, while pretending to be defeated. Miss Santos, Agent Morrison's voice cut through the fog of Elena's shock. I won't ask again. I have rights, Elena heard herself say. I'm an American citizen. You can't just... You have the right to cooperate. You have the right to make this easy. What you don't have is the right to waste my time. Elena's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. My mother just had brain surgery 12 hours ago. She's alone in a hospital bed. Whatever questions you have, they can wait. Immigration fraud doesn't wait, Miss Santos. Neither does harboring an illegal alien. My mother isn't illegal. She had a sponsored visa through my father's employment. When he died, the visa expired. That was 7 years ago. Agent Morrison pulled out a folder. Carmen Santos has been living in this country illegally for 7 years, and you've been helping her hide. Elena's blood ran cold. I didn't hide anything. I've been trying to fix her status. The paperwork is complicated. The lawyers are expensive. Save it for the interview. Morrison gestured toward the SUV. Let's go. No. The word came out harder than Elena intended. Morrison's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. I said no. I'm not going anywhere with you. Not until I speak to a lawyer. Not until I see your warrant. And definitely not while Bradley Hayes is sitting in your car. Morrison's expression flickered. Just for a moment, but Elena caught it. I don't know what you're talking about. The man in your front seat, blonde hair, expensive suit, the same man who was fired from Whitfield Technologies yesterday for fraud and sabotage, the same man who tried to visit my mother's hospital room at 4 in the morning. You're telling me that's a coincidence? Morrison said nothing. You're not here because of immigration, Elena continued, her voice rising. You're here because Bradley Hayes made a phone call. He has connections, money, power, and he's using all of it to destroy me. Miss Santos, how much did he pay you? Morrison's face went red. That's a serious accusation. Then deny it. Look me in the eyes and tell me Bradley Hayes had nothing to do with this. Silence. Elena pulled out her phone. I'm calling Marcus Whitfield. I'm calling my lawyer, and I'm calling every journalist who covered this morning's news story about the cleaning woman who exposed corporate fraud. You're making a mistake. No, you're making a mistake. You came after a woman whose mother is dying, a woman who just closed a $300 million deal, a woman who has the personal phone number of David Chen, CEO of Shanghai Dynamics. Elena held up her phone. One call to Chen, and this becomes an international incident. Is that what you want? Morrison's jaw tightened. For a long moment, neither woman moved. Then Morrison stepped back. This isn't over, Miss Santos. We'll be in touch. I'm counting on it. Elena watched the agent walk back to the SUV. Through the tinted window, she saw Bradley Hayes' smile fade into something darker, something dangerous. The SUV pulled away. Elena's knees buckled. She caught herself against her car, breathing hard, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. She had won this round, but Bradley wasn't finished. He would never be finished until she was destroyed. Her phone rang. Marcus Whitfield. Elena, where are you? The press conference starts in 30 minutes. Press conference. The Shanghai Dynamics announcement. You need to be here. David Chen specifically requested your presence. Elena looked at her reflection in the car window, exhausted, terrified, barely holding together. I'll be there, she said. Give me 20 minutes. 11:47 a.m. Elena stood backstage at Whitfield Technologies' main auditorium trying to make herself presentable. Priya had found her a clean blouse. Someone else had produced makeup. A third person had done something with her hair. She still looked like a woman who hadn't slept in 36 hours. Because she was. You ready? Priya asked. No. Good, neither am I. Let's do this anyway. The auditorium was packed. Journalists, investors, employees. Everyone who mattered in Silicon Valley gathered to witness the announcement of the decade. Marcus Whitfield took the stage first. His speech was polished professional, full of corporate optimism about partnerships and growth and shared futures. Elena barely heard a word. She was watching the crowd, looking for blonde hair, expensive suits, the face of a man who wanted her dead. She didn't see Bradley Hayes, but that didn't mean he wasn't there. And now, Marcus was saying, I'd like to introduce someone who made this partnership possible. Someone whose talent was hidden in plain sight for far too long. Our new Director of International Relations, Elena Santos. Applause. Scattered at first, then building. Elena walked to the podium. The lights were blinding. The faces were blurry. Her hands were shaking. She gripped the podium and spoke. 3 days ago, I was a cleaning woman. I pushed a cart through these hallways. I emptied trash cans. I wiped down tables. I was invisible. The room went silent. My father, Miguel Santos, built Whitfield Technologies' Asian division. He gave 15 years of his life to this company, and when he was no longer useful, he was thrown away like garbage. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I could have stayed invisible. I could have kept my head down, done my job, watched others take credit for work they didn't do. It would have been safer, easier, but my mother was dying, and the only way to save her was to stop being afraid. Elena's voice strengthened. This partnership isn't just about money, it's about recognition. It's about honoring the people who build things even when nobody sees them. My father's name will be on the patents he created. His legacy will be restored. And every person in this company who has been overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed will know that their work matters. She paused. Let the words sink in. I'm not standing here because I'm special. I'm standing here because I finally stopped hiding. And if my story inspires even one person to do the same, then everything I've been through was worth it. The applause was thunderous. Elena stepped back from the podium, her heart pounding. She had done it. She had spoken her truth in front of the entire world. And then her phone buzzed with a message that turned the triumph to ashes. Check the news now. Elena pulled out her phone. Her fingers trembled as she opened the browser. The headline hit her like a physical blow. Whistleblower or spy new evidence suggests Whitfield Technologies cleaning woman had ties to foreign intelligence. The article was everywhere. Every major outlet, every social media platform, spreading like wildfire through a dry forest. According to unnamed sources, Elena Santos had been photographing confidential documents for years. According to the same sources, she had connections to Chinese intelligence services through her mother's family. According to the same sources, the Shanghai Dynamics deal was actually a cover for corporate espionage on a massive scale. All lies. Every word. But lies spread faster than truth. And by the time Elena finished reading, the applause in the auditorium had already started to fade. 12:32 p.m., emergency meeting, Marcus Whitfield's private office. Who leaked this? Elena demanded. Who gave them these lies? Anonymous sources. Marcus's voice was tight. But we both know who's behind it. Bradley Hayes. He has friends in the media, old fraternity brothers, business school contacts. He's been cultivating relationships for years. So what do we do? Marcus was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. The board is concerned. Concerned about what the story is false. I can prove it's false. Can you? Marcus met her eyes. Can you prove that you never photographed documents without authorization? Elena's stomach dropped. I photographed them to protect myself, to preserve evidence of Bradley's sabotage. I know that, but the board doesn't see it that way. They see an employee who violated security protocols, an employee who may have exposed us to legal liability. So they want me gone. They want to evaluate the situation, which means you're suspended effective immediately pending an internal investigation. Elena felt the floor shift beneath her feet. You're suspending me after everything I did, after I saved this deal. I'm protecting you. If you're still employed when the investigation clears you, it's vindication. If you're fired now, it looks like guilt. And if the investigation doesn't clear me... Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. Elena walked out of his office in a daze. The hallways that had felt like triumph an hour ago now felt like prison corridors. People stared, whispered, moved out of her way like she carried a disease. She had won the battle. But Bradley Hayes was winning the war. 1:15 p.m., Bay Area Medical Center. Elena's mother was awake. Fragile and pale, but awake. Her eyes brightened when Elena walked in. Mija. The word came out slurred but recognizable. You came. I'll always come, Mama. Elena took her mother's hand. How do you feel? Tired, confused. Carmen's fingers tightened weakly. Nurse said, men came, asked questions. About me. Elena's heart clenched. I know, Mama. I'm handling it. Are we in trouble? No, we're going to be fine, I promise. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue, but some truths were too heavy for a woman who had just survived brain surgery. I saw you, Carmen whispered. On the television, in the waiting room, you were speaking. The press conference, you saw that you were so strong, so brave. Tears leaked from Carmen's eyes. Like your father. Elena couldn't hold back her own tears anymore. I don't feel brave, Mama. I feel scared. They're coming after us. They're trying to destroy everything. Then let them come. Carmen's voice was weak but fierce. We survived worse. We survived losing your father. We survived poverty. We survived being invisible. We will survive this too. How do you know? Because you are my daughter, and Santos women do not break. Elena stayed with her mother until visiting hours ended. She told Carmen about the deal, about David Chen, about the promise to restore Miguel's legacy. She did not tell her about the suspension, about the investigation, about Bradley Hayes and his campaign of destruction. Some burdens were hers alone to carry. 6:43 p.m. Elena's apartment. The eviction notice was gone. Priya had arranged for the back rent to be paid from Elena's advance salary. The apartment was still cramped, still worn, still smelling faintly of the poverty that had soaked into its walls. But it was home, and for now, it was safe. Elena sat at her kitchen table surrounded by documents, legal papers, immigration forms, evidence she had gathered over years of careful preparation. Her mother's case wasn't hopeless. The visa had expired, yes, but there were pathways to regularization, hardship exemptions, medical considerations. She had been building the case slowly, methodically, waiting for the right moment to file. Bradley Hayes had forced her hand too early. Now she had to fight on two fronts at once. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered anyway. "Hello? Miss Santos?" A man's voice. Unfamiliar. "My name is Thomas Wright. I'm an attorney specializing in immigration law. I was contacted by David Chen." Elena's breath caught. "Mr. Chen called you. He's very concerned about your situation. He asked me to reach out, to offer my services. I can't afford... Mr. Chen has already taken care of the fees, all of them. He said to tell you that your father would have done the same for him." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll meet me tomorrow morning. We have a lot of work to do." 8:22 p.m. Elena was reviewing documents when she heard it. A knock at the door. She froze. No one knocked on her door. She had no friends in this building. No visitors. No one who would come unannounced. The knock came again. Harder. Elena grabbed her phone and moved silently toward the door. She looked through the peephole. Jerome, the security guard from Whitfield Technologies. She opened the door. "Jerome, what are you doing here?" "Can I come in? It's important." His face was wrong. Pale, sweating, eyes darting up and down the hallway like he expected to be followed. Elena stepped aside. "What's going on?" Jerome walked past her, didn't sit, kept moving like a man who couldn't be still. "They came to my house," he said. "The same men who came to the building. Government types, asking questions. About me. About everything. You, your mother, Bradley Hayes, the Shanghai deal." Jerome finally stopped moving. "Elena, they showed me things. Documents, photographs. They said you were working with Chinese intelligence. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd find irregularities in my background too." Elena's blood ran cold. "Jerome, none of that is true." "I know it's not true. I've known you for 6 years. I know what kind of person you are." His voice cracked. "But they're powerful, Elena. They have resources. They have connections. And they're not going to stop until they destroy you." "Who is they, Bradley Hayes?" "Bradley is just the front man. There's someone else. Someone bigger." Jerome pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "I found this in Hayes' old office after they took him away before they sealed the room. I shouldn't have taken it, but I had a feeling." Elena took the paper. It was a printed email. The sender's address was redacted, but the message was clear. "Project Santos is proceeding as planned. Target will be neutralized within 72 hours. Payment transferred to offshore account as agreed. Ensure no traces lead back to primary stakeholder." Project Santos. They had given their plan to destroy her a name. "Who is the primary stakeholder?" Elena asked. "I don't know, but whoever it is, they're inside Whitfield Technologies, high up, someone who wanted the Shanghai deal to fail." Elena's mind raced. Who would benefit from destroying the partnership? Who had the power to coordinate something like this? And then it hit her. "The board?" she whispered. "Someone on the board." "What?" "Marcus said the board was concerned. He said they wanted me suspended. What if that's not about protecting the company? What if someone on the board has been working with Bradley all along?" Jerome's face went pale. "Elena, if that's true, then I'm not just fighting Bradley Hayes. I'm fighting someone with billions of dollars and nothing to lose." 9:47 p.m. Elena made a phone call she had been dreading. "Mr. Chen, I'm sorry to call so late." "Elena, I was hoping you would call. I've been watching the news." "Then you know what they're saying about me." "I know what they're saying. I also know it's lies. The question is, what do we do about it?" Elena took a breath. "I think there's a traitor on the Whitfield board. Someone who's been working with Bradley Hayes to sabotage the deal. Someone who paid for the attacks against me." A long pause. That's a serious accusation? I have evidence, partial evidence, an email that mentions a primary stakeholder who wanted me neutralized. Do you have a name? Not yet, but I'm close. Then get closer, and be careful, Elena. The people you're dealing with do not play by the rules. Neither do I, not anymore. 11:15 p.m. Elena couldn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table surrounded by documents cross-referencing names and dates and connections. The board of Whitfield Technologies had 9 members. Any one of them could be the traitor. Robert Chen, no relation to David. Old money conservative investments, no obvious connection to Bradley Hayes. Margaret Wilson, former tech executive early investor in Whitfield, close personal friend of Marcus. Unlikely. Philip Drake, hedge fund manager, aggressive dealmaker, known for hostile takeovers. Possible. Sarah Montgomery, diversity, higher community activist, no financial incentive for sabotage. Unlikely. William Foster, investment banker, connections to Samsung, history of failed partnerships with Shanghai Dynamics. Elena stopped. William Foster, connections to Samsung. The same Samsung that Bradley Hayes had been negotiating with in secret. The same Samsung that would get the Shanghai deal if Whitfield backed out. She pulled up everything she could find about William Foster, his career, his investments, his relationships, and there it was. Foster and Hayes had been roommates at Harvard Business School. They had founded a failed startup together in 2009. They still owned a vacation property in the Bahamas as joint tenants. They weren't just colleagues, they were partners. Elena's hands were shaking as she photographed the evidence. This was it, the connection that tied everything together. Bradley Hayes was the weapon. William Foster was the one pulling the trigger. And together, they had been planning to destroy Whitfield Technologies from the inside. 1:33 a.m. Elena sent 3 emails. One to Marcus Whitfield with the evidence she had gathered. One to David Chen with a summary of her findings. One to Thomas Wright, the immigration lawyer, asking for an emergency meeting. Then she sat back and waited. The response came faster than expected. 2:47 a.m. A knock at the door. Elena's heart stopped. She hadn't told anyone where she lived. Not Marcus, not Chen, not the lawyer. Only Jerome knew, and Jerome had already visited tonight. She crept to the door and looked through the peephole. William Foster stood in the hallway. Silver hair, expensive suit, the calm, confident expression of a man who had never faced consequences for anything in his life. Behind him stood 2 men in dark suits. Not government agents, private security, hired muscle. Elena didn't open the door. Miss Santos. Foster's voice was smooth, pleasant, unthreatening. I think it's time we had a conversation. I have nothing to say to you. That's unfortunate because I have quite a lot to say to you. About your mother's medical bills, about her immigration status, about all the ways your life could become very difficult if you continue down this path. Elena's blood boiled. Is that a threat? It's an observation. You're a smart woman, Miss Santos, smart enough to know when you're outmatched. I'm smart enough to know you're behind all of this, you and Bradley. I have proof. A pause, then Foster laughed, a quiet, dangerous sound. Proof can be destroyed? Witnesses can be silenced. Emails can be fabricated. He stepped closer to the door. The question isn't whether you have proof. The question is whether anyone will believe you. They'll believe me. Will they? You're a cleaning woman who claims she can read Chinese, a woman whose mother is an illegal immigrant, a woman who has already been suspended for security violations. Foster's voice dropped. Who do you think the world will trust, you or a Harvard-educated board member with 40 years of sterling reputation? Elena gripped the door handle. Her knuckles were white. I'm going to destroy you, she said quietly. Not because I hate you, not because I want revenge, but because you hurt my family, you hurt my father, and no one hurts the people I love without consequences. Big words from a small woman. My father had big words too. Knowledge opens doors. That's what his pen says. The same pen I used to translate the document that's going to put you in prison. Silence. You have 24 hours, Foster said finally. 24 hours to withdraw your evidence and sign a non-disclosure agreement. If you cooperate, your mother gets a green card and you get a severance package that will keep you comfortable for years. And if I don't cooperate, then your mother gets deported, you get prosecuted for industrial espionage, and your father's name gets erased from every patent, every record, every document he ever touched. Elena felt the walls closing in. The threat was real. Foster had the power to do everything he promised, but she also had something he didn't. 24 hours, she said. I'll give you my answer then. I look forward to it. She watched through the peephole as Foster and his men walked away. Her hands were trembling. Her heart was racing. But her mind was clear. She had 24 hours to take down a billionaire. 24 hours to prove her innocence. 24 hours to save everything she loved, and she knew exactly how to do it. 4:15 a.m., Elena made one more phone call. Mr. Chen, I'm sorry to wake you, but I need a favor. Anything, Elena. I need you to call the FBI. David Chen's voice was calm on the other end of the line, but Elena could hear the steel beneath it. The FBI, are you certain about this? William Foster came to my apartment an hour ago. He threatened to destroy my mother, my career, everything. He gave me 24 hours to surrender. And instead of surrendering, you want to attack. I want justice. There's a difference. Chen was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Harder, more businesslike. I have a contact at the Bureau, Special Agent Catherine Ross. She handles corporate fraud and international business crimes. I've worked with her before on cases involving intellectual property theft. Can she help? She can if you have evidence. Real evidence. Not suspicions, not theories. Documents that prove Foster and Hayes conspired to sabotage the Shanghai deal. Elena looked at the papers spread across her kitchen table. The email Jerome had found. The connection between Foster and Hayes. The timeline of events that showed coordination. I have enough to start an investigation. Whether it's enough to finish one, I don't know. Then we need more. Chen paused. Elena, there's something I haven't told you. Something about your father. Elena's heart stuttered. What about him? Before Miguel died, he sent me a package. Documents, research files, things he had saved from his time at Whitfield Technologies. He said he was building a case against people who had wronged him. He asked me to keep it safe until the right moment. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because the right moment hadn't come. Now it has. Chen's voice softened. Your father knew something was wrong at Whitfield. He was gathering evidence before they fired him. Whatever he found, it was important enough that he trusted me with it above everyone else. Elena's hands were shaking. Where is this package? In my office in Shanghai, but I can have it couriered to you within 18 hours. That's cutting it close. Foster gave me 24 hours. Then we'll have to move fast. 5:32 a.m. Elena couldn't stay in her apartment, not after Foster's visit, not with his men knowing where she lived. She packed a small bag, clothes, documents, her father's silver pen, everything she might need for a fight that could last days. Then she called the one person she trusted absolutely. Jerome, I need help. Elena, what's wrong? It's 5 in the morning. Foster came to my apartment. He knows where I live. I need somewhere safe to stay. A pause. Then, my sister has a place in Oakland, empty right now while she's traveling. I can get you the key. Thank you, Jerome. I don't know how to repay you. You already did. You stood up when nobody else would. That's worth more than any favor. 6:47 a.m. Elena was in Jerome's sister's apartment, a small but clean space above a laundromat. The smell of detergent drifted through the windows. The sound of early morning traffic filtered through the walls. She set up her makeshift command center on the kitchen table. Laptop, documents, phone chargers, everything she needed to wage war against a billionaire. Her phone buzzed. Thomas Wright, the immigration lawyer. Miss Santos, I've reviewed your mother's case. The situation is complicated, but not hopeless. What do you mean? Carmen's visa expired, yes, but she's been in the country continuously for over 20 years. She has a U.S.-born daughter. She has documented medical needs that cannot be adequately addressed in her home country. All of these factors create pathways to regularization. But Foster said he could have her deported. Foster can make noise, he can file complaints, he can make your life difficult, but actually deporting your mother would require a formal hearing, and any competent immigration judge would see the humanitarian factors. Wright's voice hardened. The real threat isn't deportation, it's the stress, the fear, the distraction. Foster wants you focused on defending your mother instead of attacking him. So what do? You file first. We submit a regularization petition today before Foster can make any moves. We get ahead of the narrative. How long does that take? The filing itself takes hours. The actual process takes months. But once we're in the system, Foster's leverage disappears. He can't threaten to deport someone who has an active case pending. Elena felt something loosen in her chest. Not hope exactly, but the first hint that survival might be possible. Do it. File everything, whatever it costs. Mr. Chen has already covered the fees, all of them. Elena's eyes burned. A man she had never met was spending thousands of dollars to protect her family, because her father had been his friend, because loyalty meant something to people who remembered what honor looked like. Tell Mr. Chen thank you, from me and my mother. Tell him yourself. You're going to be talking to him a lot before this is over. 8:15 a.m. Elena's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Miss Santos, a woman's voice, professional, authoritative. This is Special Agent Catherine Ross with the FBI. David Chen gave me your number. Elena's pulse quickened. Thank you for calling Agent Ross. I've reviewed the materials Chen forwarded, the email, the connection between Foster and Hayes, the timeline. Ross paused. It's interesting, but it's not enough. What do you mean, Muse? I mean, I can't open a formal investigation based on a single email and some circumstantial connections. I need more. Financial records, communications, witnesses who can testify to direct knowledge of the conspiracy. I'm working on getting more. David Chen has documents that my father left behind, evidence he gathered before his death. When will you have them? 18 hours, maybe less if Chen can expedite. Then call me when you have them. In the meantime, I'll do some preliminary digging, see what I can find about Foster's financial relationships with Samsung. Agent Ross, why are you helping me? A pause, then more quietly, because I've been watching William Foster for 3 years. He's slippery, smart, always covers his tracks. But everyone makes mistakes. Eventually. And if you're right about what he's done, this might be the mistake that finally takes him down. 9:43 a.m. Elena knew she couldn't just wait. 18 hours was too long. Foster was out there planning his next move, marshaling his resources. She needed to go on offense. Her first call was to Priya Sharma. Elena? Oh my God, I've been trying to reach you. Everyone's talking about what happened. The news stories, the suspension. I know. Listen, Priya, I need information. Internal information. Elena, I could lose my job. I know, and I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Elena took a breath. William Foster, he's on the board. What do people say about him? Priya was silent for a moment. He's controversial. Some people think he's a genius investor. Others think he's a shark who only cares about short-term profits. Has he ever pushed for deals to fail? What do you mean? Has he ever argued against partnerships, tried to tank acquisitions? Anything that might benefit competitors. Another pause. Longer this time. There was something. About 2 years ago, Whitfield was negotiating with a German tech firm. Huge deal, would have expanded our European market significantly. What happened? Foster killed it. Convinced the board that the terms were unfavorable. The deal went to a competitor instead. Priya's voice dropped. A competitor that Foster had significant stock holdings in. Elena's heart raced. Is there documentation of this? Board meeting minutes, internal emails? But Elena, that stuff is locked down. Executive level access only. Can you get it? Priya hesitated. Maybe, if I'm careful, but if anyone finds out, I'll protect you. Whatever happens, your name stays out of this. I promise. Okay, give me a few hours. 10:58 a.m. Elena's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your email. A friend? She opened her laptop and found a message in her inbox. No sender name, no signature, just a single attachment. She clicked it open and felt her blood freeze. It was a photograph. Her mother, in her hospital bed, taken from inside the room. Below the image, a single line of text. 24 hours becomes 12. The clock is ticking. Elena's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. She called the hospital immediately. Bay Area Medical Center, how may I direct your call? Carmen Santos's room, now, please. One moment. The hold music lasted forever. Elena paced the small apartment, her mind racing with terrible possibilities. Recovery unit, this is Nurse Williams. My mother, is she okay? Has anyone been in her room? Miss Santos, your mother is fine, she's resting comfortably. Has anyone visited her? Anyone at all? Just the regular staff, and... Williams hesitated. There was a photographer about an hour ago. He said he was from the hospital's PR department taking pictures for a newsletter. Elena's stomach dropped. Did you verify his credentials? No, he had a badge. He seemed legitimate. Call security, right now. Tell them no one gets into my mother's room without my explicit authorization. No one. Not photographers, not PR people, not anyone who isn't on her medical team. Miss Santos, what's going on? Someone is threatening my family. Please, keep her safe. Elena hung up and stared at the photograph on her laptop screen. Foster wasn't just playing games anymore. He was escalating. 12 hours. She had 12 hours to bring him down. Or lose everything. 11:32 a.m. Elena made a decision that terrified her. She called Marcus Whitfield. Elena, where are you? The board is meeting in an hour to discuss your situation. I know, that's why I'm calling. She took a breath. I need to address the board directly, in person. That's not possible, you're suspended. Make it possible. I have evidence that William Foster has been conspiring with Bradley Hayes to sabotage the Shanghai deal. Evidence that implicates him in corporate fraud, insider trading, and witness intimidation. Silence on the other end. That's a serious accusation, Marcus said finally. I'm aware, but it's true, and if you don't let me present my evidence to the board, I'll present it to the FBI instead, and then to the media. Elena's voice hardened. I don't want to destroy Whitfield Technologies, Marcus, but I will if that's what it takes to destroy the people who hurt my family. A long pause. Elena could hear Marcus breathing, thinking, calculating. The board meeting starts at 1 o'clock, he said finally. Be here at 12:45, and Elena, this better be as good as you say it is. It will be. 12:17 p.m. Elena arrived at Whitfield Technologies through the service entrance. Jerome was waiting for her. You shouldn't be here, he said. Foster's people are everywhere. I know, but I don't have a choice. Jerome pressed something into her hand, a key card. This will get you to the executive floor. Security override. Don't ask how I got it. Jerome, go before someone sees us. Elena took the stairs instead of the elevator. 15 flights. Her legs burned. Her lungs screamed. But every step brought her closer to the confrontation that would determine everything. She reached the executive floor at 12:39. The hallways were empty. Everyone was already in the boardroom, preparing for the meeting that would decide her fate. Elena walked toward the double doors. Her father's silver pen was in her pocket. Her evidence was in her bag. Her heart was pounding so hard she could barely think. She pushed open the doors and stepped inside. 12:41 p.m. 9 faces turned toward her. 8 board members and Marcus Whitfield at the head of the table. William Foster sat in the chair closest to the door. His expression when he saw Elena was something she would never forget. Shock, fury, and beneath it all, fear. What is she doing here? Foster demanded. She's been suspended. She has no right to be in this room. I invited her, Marcus said calmly. Miss Santos has evidence she wishes to present to the board. Evidence she's a cleaning woman who's been accused of corporate espionage. Any evidence she presents is tainted by... Let her speak. This from Margaret Wilson, the former tech executive. We've heard your side, William. Now let's hear hers. Foster's face reddened, but he sat back in his chair, arms crossed. Elena walked to the head of the table and placed her folder before the board. 3 days ago, I was invisible. I pushed a cleaning cart through these hallways. I emptied your trash cans. I wiped down your tables. And I listened. She opened the folder. What I heard was a conspiracy, a plan to destroy the Shanghai Dynamics partnership and sell Whitfield Technologies' most valuable assets to Samsung. Murmurs rippled through the room. The architect of this conspiracy was not Bradley Hayes. Hayes was just a soldier. The real mastermind was someone in this room. Someone with the power to manipulate documents. Someone with financial connections to Samsung. Someone who stood to gain millions from the deal's failure. Elena's eyes locked onto Foster. William Foster. The room exploded. This is outrageous, Foster shouted, rising from his chair. I've given 40 years to this company. My reputation is impeccable. I won't sit here and be accused by a cleaning woman who can prove everything she's saying. Elena pulled out the email Jerome had found. This is from your personal account, Mr. Foster. It references Project Santos and discusses payment to an offshore account for my neutralization. That email is fabricated. Anyone could have... The FBI doesn't think so. Elena pulled out her phone. Special Agent Catherine Ross has been investigating you for 3 years. She's very interested in your relationship with Samsung's acquisition team. Foster's face went pale. She's also interested in the German deal you killed 2 years ago, The one where you convinced this board to reject a favorable partnership so that your competitor holdings would benefit. That's privileged information. How did you... I have friends, Mr. Foster. People you overlooked. People you treated like furniture. Elena's voice rose. The same way you treated my father when you blacklisted him from the industry. The same way you treated me when you sent government agents to threaten my mother. I don't know what you're talking about. Then explain this. Elena pulled out the photograph of her mother. This was taken inside her hospital room this morning by one of your people, sent to me with a message cutting my deadline from 24 hours to 12. The board members stared at the photograph. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to horror. You threatened a woman recovering from brain surgery, Elena continued, a 72-year-old woman who can barely speak. You did that to intimidate her daughter into silence. I had nothing to do with that photograph. Then who did Bradley Hayes is in custody? His assets are frozen. The only person with the resources and motivation to continue his campaign of intimidation is you. Foster looked around the room searching for allies. He found none. This is ridiculous, he said, his voice losing its confidence. You have no proof. You have accusations and fabrications, and I have my father's files. The room went silent. Before Miguel Santos died, he sent a package to David Chen. Documents, research, evidence he had gathered about corruption at Whitfield Technologies. Elena pulled out her phone and showed the screen. The package arrives in 6 hours, and when it does, Special Agent Ross will have everything she needs to arrest you. Foster's face was gray now, sweating, the face of a man watching his empire crumble. What do you want? He whispered. I want you to resign from this board, immediately. I want you to return every dollar you've ever received from Samsung or any other competitor. I want you to publicly apologize for what you did to my father. Elena stepped closer. And I want you to spend the rest of your miserable life knowing that a cleaning woman brought you down. 1:17 p.m. The vote was unanimous. William Foster was removed from the board of Whitfield Technologies effective immediately. His shares were frozen pending investigation. His access to company systems was revoked. As security escorted him from the building, he passed Elena in the hallway. This isn't over, he hissed. You think you've won? I have friends, lawyers, resources you can't imagine. So do I. Elena held up her father's silver pen. And I have something you'll never have. What's that? The truth. 2:33 p.m.? Elena sat in Marcus Whitfield's office exhausted but exhilarated. The past 3 days felt like a lifetime. She had gone from invisible to unstoppable in 72 hours. The board has reconsidered your suspension, Marcus said. It's been lifted effective immediately. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. What you did in that room? He shook his head. I've seen hostile takeovers, boardroom coups, corporate warfare at the highest levels. I've never seen anything like what you just did. I was fighting for my family. You were fighting for everyone who's ever been overlooked. Every cleaning woman, every security guard, every person who's been told they don't matter because they don't have a title or a corner office. Marcus leaned forward. That's worth more than any business deal. Elena's eyes filled with tears. My father believed that. He believed that everyone deserved respect regardless of their position. He was right, and I'm sorry it took his daughter nearly destroying my company for me to understand that. 3:47 p.m. Elena visited her mother at the hospital. Carmen was awake, alert, stronger than she had been in days. Mija? Carmen's hand reached for hers. The nurses told me about the board meeting, about what you did. How did they know? Everyone knows. It's on the television, the radio. Everyone is talking about the cleaning woman who defeated a billionaire. Elena laughed through her tears. I'm not sure I defeated anyone yet. There's still a lot of work to do. But you stood up. You used your voice. You built the bridge your father always talked about. Carmen squeezed her hand. He would be so proud, Elena. So proud. I felt him with me. In that boardroom. When I was scared, I remembered his words. Knowledge opens doors. And I opened the biggest door of my life. Carmen's eyes glistened. You are not invisible anymore, Mija. You never were. We just couldn't see you clearly. 5:22 p.m. The package from David Chen arrived. Elena opened it with trembling hands. Inside were dozens of documents, research files, internal memos, communications that her father had saved over years of careful documentation, and at the bottom a letter, handwritten, in her father's familiar script. My dearest Elena, if you're reading this, then I am gone. And if David has given you this package, then you are fighting the same battle I was too weak to finish. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to help you. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you and your mother from the consequences of my failures. But I want you to know something. You are not alone. You were never alone. Every word I taught you, every language I shared with you was my way of giving you weapons for a fight I knew would come. The people who destroyed me thought they were silencing a voice. They were wrong. They were creating an echo. And that echo is you. Use what I've left you. Finish what I started. And remember, languages are bridges. Build them everywhere you go. With all my love, Papa. Elena wept. For her father, for her mother, for herself, for the little girl who had learned to be invisible because the world told her she didn't matter. That little girl was gone. In her place stood a woman who had brought down empires. 7:15 p.m. Elena delivered her father's documents to Special Agent Ross. This is comprehensive, Ross said, flipping through the pages. Financial records, communications, a paper trail that goes back nearly a decade. Is it enough? It's more than enough. Foster is going to prison. So is Hayes. And probably a few other people we haven't identified yet. What about the fake news stories, the accusations against me? Already being investigated, the reporters who published those stories are going to have some very uncomfortable conversations with their editors. Ross looked up. You did good, Miss Santos. Better than good. You did what trained investigators couldn't do in 3 years. I had motivation they didn't have. Family. Justice, they're the same thing. 9:43 p.m. Elena returned to her own apartment for the first time in almost 2 days. The eviction notice was gone. The threat of homelessness was over. The future, for the first time in years, looked like something other than survival. Her phone rang. David Chen. Elena, I heard about the board meeting, about Foster, about everything. Thank you for the package, for the documents, for everything you did. I did nothing. Your father did the work. You finished it. Chen paused. There's something else I want to discuss with you. A proposition. What kind of proposition? Shanghai Dynamics needs a director of international partnerships, someone who can bridge the gap between Chinese and American business cultures, someone who understands both worlds, someone who has proven they can handle pressure. Elena's breath caught. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a partnership. You would split your time between San Francisco and Shanghai. You would have resources, staff, a salary that reflects your actual value. What about Whitfield Technologies? I just accepted a position there. Marcus and I have discussed it. We both want you. The question is, what do you want? Elena looked around her small apartment. The kitchen table where she had plotted strategy. The window where she had watched the sun rise after sleepless nights. The walls that had witnessed her transformation from invisible to unstoppable. I want to build bridges, she said. Between companies, between countries, between the people who have power and the people who deserve it. Then you'll have everything you need to do exactly that. 11:17 p.m. Elena sat at her kitchen table one last time. Her father's silver pen was in her hand. The inscription gleamed in the lamplight. Knowledge opens doors. She had opened doors her father never could. She had walked through fire and emerged stronger. She had proven that invisibility was not weakness, just delayed strength. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jerome. Saw the news, proud of you. Your father would be proud too. Elena smiled through her tears. Then another text, from an unknown number. This isn't over, Miss Santos. Foster was one head of the Hydra. Cut one off, 2 more grow back. Watch your back. Watch your mother. The real game is just beginning. Elena stared at the message. Her heart should have been pounding with fear. Her hands should have been shaking. Instead, she felt something else entirely. Anticipation. She typed her response with steady fingers. I'll be ready. Then she put down her phone, picked up her father's pen, and began to write. 6 months later. Elena Santos stood at the window of her corner office on the 38th floor of Whitfield Technologies. The San Francisco skyline stretched before her. The same city that had once made her invisible now spread at her feet like a promise kept. Her phone buzzed. Priya Sharma. Elena, the Shanghai delegation just landed. David Chen is asking for you personally. Tell him I'll be there in 20 minutes. Also, your mother called. She said to remind you about dinner tonight. Elena smiled. Tell her I haven't forgotten. She turned from the window and caught her reflection in the glass. 6 months ago, she had worn a cleaning uniform and pushed a cart through these hallways. Now she wore a tailored suit that cost more than her old monthly salary. Her father's silver pen was clipped to her jacket pocket, visible to everyone who looked. Some things had changed. Some things never would. The elevator doors opened onto the executive lobby. Employees nodded as she passed. Some smiled. A few whispered to each other, but not with contempt anymore. With respect, with curiosity, with something that looked almost like admiration. Elena Santos, the cleaning woman who brought down a billionaire, the daughter who restored her father's legacy, the bridge between worlds that had thought themselves separate. The story had spread far beyond San Francisco. News outlets across the country had covered her rise. Business schools were already writing case studies. 3 publishers had approached her about a memoir. She had turned them all down. Her story wasn't finished yet. 9:47 a.m. The conference room was full when Elena arrived. David Chen sat at the head of the table, flanked by his executive team. Marcus Whitfield occupied the opposite end, surrounded by his own advisors. Between them, representing both companies, sat Elena. "Miss Santos," Chen's face broke into a warm smile. "It's good to see you in person again." "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Chen. How was your flight?" "Long, but worthwhile." Chen's eyes crinkled. "Your father always said the best deals require sacrifice. I think he was talking about airline food." The room laughed. Elena felt something loosen in her chest. 6 months of video calls and emails and late-night negotiations, and finally they were all in the same room? "Shall we begin?" Marcus asked. "One moment." Chen reached into his briefcase and pulled out a small wooden box. "Before we discuss business, I have something for you, Elena." He slid the box across the table. Elena opened it with trembling fingers. Inside lay a jade pendant on a silver chain. The stone was carved with a single character. "Chiao Bridge." "This belonged to your father," Chen said softly. "He gave it to me 30 years ago when we first became partners. He said it would remind me that connections matter more than contracts." Chen's voice caught. "I've carried it ever since, but I think it belongs with you now." Elena couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face as she lifted the pendant from its box. "Thank you," she finally managed. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll wear it. Say you'll remember what it means." Chen's eyes glistened. "Your father would have been so proud of who you've become." 10:33 a.m. The meeting proceeded smoothly. Terms were discussed. Agreements were finalized. The Shanghai Dynamics partnership, once nearly destroyed by conspiracy and sabotage, was now stronger than ever. But Elena's mind kept drifting to the threatening message she had received 6 months ago. This isn't over. Foster was one head of the Hydra. Cut one off, 2 more grow back. She had never discovered who sent it. The number was untraceable. The threat remained abstract, hovering at the edge of her consciousness like a storm that might never arrive, or might arrive at any moment. "Elena," Marcus's voice cut through her thoughts. "Are you with us?" "Yes, sorry, what were you saying?" "The implementation timeline. David has concerns about the 3rd quarter projections." Elena forced herself to focus. The Hydra could wait. The work could not. 12:15 p.m. The meeting adjourned for lunch. Elena excused herself and stepped into the hallway to check her messages. 3 missed calls from her mother's care facility. Her heart stuttered. She called back immediately. "Sunrise Senior Care. How may I help you?" "This is Elena Santos. I have missed calls from this number. Is my mother okay?" "Miss Santos, yes, your mother is fine, but there's been an incident." "What kind of incident?" "A man came to visit her this morning. He claimed to be a family friend. We followed protocol and contacted you, but when we couldn't reach you, we turned him away." Elena's blood ran cold. What did he look like? "Middle-aged, gray hair, expensive suit. He seemed upset when we refused him entry." "It couldn't be Foster. Foster was in federal custody awaiting trial. His assets were frozen. His allies had scattered, but the Hydra had many heads." "Don't let anyone near my mother," Elena said, her voice hard. "No one. Not family friends. Not former colleagues. Not anyone who isn't on the approved list." "Of course, Miss Santos. We take security very seriously." "You'd better, because if anything happens to her, I will hold your facility personally responsible." She hung up and immediately called Jerome. "Elena, what's wrong?" "Someone tried to visit my mother. Same pattern as before. I need your help." "Tell me what you need." "Sure." "I need you to find out who's behind this. Foster's in custody. Hayes is cooperating with prosecutors. Someone else is pulling strings." "I'll start digging, but Elena, be careful. Whoever this is, they're patient. They've been waiting 6 months." Patient people are the most dangerous kind. 1:47 p.m. Elena returned to the conference room for the afternoon session. Her mind was racing, but she forced herself to focus. The partnership documents required her full attention. Halfway through the session, her phone buzzed with a text from Jerome. "Found something. Call me when you can. Urgent." Elena's stomach tightened. She excused herself again and stepped into the hallway. "Jerome, what did you find?" "The man who visited your mother. I pulled the security footage from the care facility. Elena, I know who it is." "Who?" A pause. Then, "Robert Chen." Elena's world tilted. "That's not possible. Robert Chen is on the Whitfield board. He has no connection to Foster or Hayes." "He does now. I found financial records, offshore accounts. Robert Chen has been receiving payments from Samsung for the past 18 months. He was Foster's backup plan, the second head of the Hydra." Elena's legs went weak. She leaned against the wall for tire support. Robert Chen, the board member she had dismissed as unlikely. Old money, conservative investments, no obvious connection to the conspiracy. No obvious connection, but the connections were there hidden beneath layers of misdirection. "Jerome, I need proof, documents, something I can take to Agent Ross." "I'm working on it, but Elena, there's more." "More? Robert Chen isn't just Foster's ally. He's his brother-in-law. Foster married Chen's sister 30 years ago. They kept it quiet, separate names, separate lives, but they've been partners all along." Elena closed her eyes. The Hydra wasn't just an organization, it was a family. "How long until you have the documents?" "Wait, 2 hours, maybe less." "Send them to me the moment you have them." "Elena, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to finish this, once and for all." 2:33 p.m. Elena returned to the conference room. Her face was calm, but her heart was pounding. Robert Chen sat at the far end of the table, taking notes on his tablet. His expression was mild, attentive, unremarkable. The face of a man who had nothing to hide. But Elena knew better now. She watched him throughout the afternoon session, watched how his eyes flickered toward her when he thought she wasn't looking, watched how his pen moved in small nervous circles when certain topics arose. He knew she was onto him. She was certain of it. The question was, what would he do about it? 4:15 p.m. The session ended. Handshakes were exchanged. Plans were made for the next day's meetings. As the room emptied, Robert Chen approached Elena. "Miss Santos." "A word?" Elena's muscles tensed. "Of course, Mr. Chen." They moved to a quiet corner of the room. Chen's expression was friendly, but his eyes were cold. "I wanted to congratulate you," he said. "Your rise has been remarkable, from cleaning woman to director in 6 months. That's quite an achievement." "Thank you." "Your father would be proud." Chen paused. "He and I worked together, you know, before the restructuring." "I'm aware." "He was a good man, talented, dedicated." Chen's voice dropped. "It was unfortunate what happened to him." "Unfortunate," Elena kept her voice steady. "That's one word for it. These things happen in business. People get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Loyalties shift. Alliances crumble." Chen leaned closer. "The smart ones learn to adapt. The foolish ones keep fighting battles they can't win." "Is that a warning, Mr. Chen?" "It's advice, from someone who's been in this game much longer than you." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "You've made powerful enemies, Miss Santos. Some of them aren't as defeated as you might think." "Thank you for your concern." "I'm concerned about many things. The stability of this company, the success of the Shanghai partnership, the safety of everyone involved." Chen straightened his tie. "Including your mother. I understand she's recovering well." Elena's blood turned to ice. "Stay away from my mother." "I haven't been anywhere near your mother. I'm simply expressing concern." Chen stepped back. "Good evening, Miss Santos. I look forward to tomorrow's meetings." He walked away, leaving Elena standing alone in the empty conference room. 5:42 p.m. Elena was in her office when Jerome's email arrived. The documents were devastating. Financial records showing payments from Samsung to accounts controlled by Robert Chen, communications between Chen and Foster dating back 5 years, a timeline that proved Chen had been part of the conspiracy from the beginning. And something else, something that made Elena's heart stop. A memo from Chen to Foster dated 3 days before Miguel Santos was fired. The Santos problem must be handled immediately. His knowledge of the Asian operations makes him a liability. Recommend termination with extreme prejudice toward future employment. Her father's destruction hadn't been a corporate decision. It had been an assassination ordered by Robert Chen. Elena's hands shook as she forwarded the documents to Special Agent Ross. Then she made a call. Agent Ross, I have new evidence. Robert Chen, board member at Whitfield Technologies. He's been working with Foster and Hayes from the beginning. I'm looking at your email now. Ross's voice was sharp with interest. This is comprehensive. When can you come in to make a formal statement? Tomorrow morning, but there's something I need to do first. Elena, don't do anything stupid. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I'm going to do something smart. 6:30 p.m. Emergency board meeting. Elena had called it herself with using the authority Marcus had granted her after Foster's removal. The remaining board members filed in confused and annoyed at being summoned on such short notice. Robert Chen was among them, his expression carefully neutral. Marcus Whitfield arrived last. Elena, what's this about Wilmo? Thank you all for coming. Elena stood at the head of the table, her father's jade pendant visible at her throat. I apologize for the inconvenience, but there's a matter that requires immediate attention. This couldn't wait until tomorrow, Margaret Wilson asked. No, it couldn't. Elena pulled out a folder. 6 months ago, I stood in this room and accused William Foster of conspiracy and sabotage. I proved that he had been working with Bradley Hayes to destroy the Shanghai partnership. She opened the folder. What I didn't know then was that Foster wasn't working alone. He had a partner, someone on this board who has been facilitating corporate espionage for years. The room went silent. That partner is Robert Chen. Chen's face went white. This is absurd. I have no connection to... You have every connection. Elena spread the documents across the table. Financial records showing payments from Samsung, communications with Foster dating back 5 years, and this. She held up the memo. A recommendation to terminate my father with extreme prejudice toward future employment, written by you, signed by you, 3 days before Whitfield Technologies destroyed his career. The board members stared at the documents. Their expressions shifted from confusion to shock to horror. This is fabricated, Chen protested. She's manipulating you. She's Heidi. The FBI has authenticated every document. Elena cut him off. Special Agent Catherine Ross is prepared to make an arrest tonight. The only question is whether you go quietly or make a scene. Chen looked around the room searching for allies. He found none. You think you've won. His voice was a hiss. You think this is over. I have resources you can't imagine. Connections that go deeper than you could possibly... Your resources are frozen, your connections are being investigated, and your brother-in-law is preparing to testify against you in exchange for a reduced sentence. Elena stepped closer. It's over, Robert. The Hydra is dead. Chen's face contorted with rage. For a moment, Elena thought he might attack her. Instead, he laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. Your father was just like you, you know, stubborn, righteous, convinced that truth and justice would prevail. Chen shook his head. He died believing that. Alone? Broken? Forgotten. My father was not forgotten. Elena's voice was steel. His name is on patents. His legacy is restored, and his daughter is standing here watching his enemies fall one by one. She turned to Marcus. Call security. I believe Chen has an appointment with the FBI. 7:15 p.m. Elena watched from the window as federal agents escorted Robert Chen from the building. His hands were cuffed behind his back. His face was blank with shock. The last head of the Hydra, severed. Marcus Whitfield stood beside her. How did you know? He asked quietly. I didn't, not for certain, but I learned something these past 6 months. Elena turned to face him. Invisible people see everything, and I spent a lot of years being invisible. You're not invisible anymore. No, I'm not. She touched the jade pendant at her throat. But I remember what it felt like, and I'll never forget the people who are still waiting to be seen. 8:30 p.m. Elena arrived at Sunrise Senior Care as the sun was setting. Her mother was in the garden, sitting in her wheelchair, watching the flowers sway in the evening breeze. Carmen Santos looked up as Elena approached. Her face broke into a smile. Mija, you came. I'll always come, Mama. Elena knelt beside her mother's chair. How are you feeling? Better? Stronger? Carmen's eyes searched her daughter's face. Something happened today. I can see it in your eyes. Something happened. Elena took her mother's hand. The man who destroyed Papa, the one who ordered his termination, he was arrested tonight. Carmen's breath caught. Arrested? By the FBI? For conspiracy, fraud, and what he did to Papa. Elena's voice trembled. It's over, Mama. Finally. The people who hurt our family are going to pay for what they did. Carmen was silent for a long moment. Tears streamed down her weathered face. Your father, she finally whispered. He knew. He always knew there was something deeper, something more. He was gathering evidence, building a case. I know, Mama. David Chen gave me his files. He never got to finish. Carmen's fingers tightened around Elena's hand. But you did. You finished what he started. We finished it together. You, me, Papa. Elena touched the jade pendant. This family doesn't give up, no matter how hard they try to break us. Carmen smiled through her tears. Your father would be so proud. He's here, Mama. I feel him. Every time I speak, every time I fight, every time I build a bridge. Elena pressed her forehead against her mother's hand. He's been with me all along. 9:47 p.m. Elena drove home through the San Francisco night. The city lights sparkled around her 1,000 small flames in the darkness. Her phone rang. David Chen. Elena, I heard about Robert Chen, the arrest, everything. Word travels fast. In our world it does. A pause. How are you feeling? Tired? Relieved? Sad? Elena sighed. I thought it would feel better, finally getting justice, finally seeing them pay. And it doesn't. It does, but it doesn't bring Papa back. It doesn't give my mother back the years she lost. It doesn't undo any of the damage. No, it doesn't. Chen's voice was gentle, but it prevents future damage. It protects the next Miguel Santos, the next Elena Santos, the next family that might be targeted by powerful men who think they're above consequences. I know, that's why I keep fighting. And that's why you'll always win. Chen paused. Your father used to say that languages are bridges, but I think he was wrong about one thing. What's that? It's not just languages, but languages that build bridges. It's people. People who refuse to be invisible. People who speak even when no one wants to listen. People who stand up even when the whole world tells them to sit down. Chen's voice strengthened. You are that bridge, Elena. You are the connection between the world as it is and the world as it should be. Elena wiped her eyes. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for everything you've done. Thank me by building more bridges. The world needs them. 10:30 p.m. home. Elena sat at her kitchen table, the same table where she had plotted strategy during the darkest days of her fight. The same table where her father had taught her languages. The same table where she had learned that knowledge opens doors. She pulled out her laptop and began to write. Not a memoir, not a business plan, not a strategy document, a letter to her father. Dear Papa, it's over. The people who hurt you are facing justice. Your name is restored. Your legacy lives on. I wish you could be here to see it. I wish I could hear your voice one more time telling me that languages are bridges, that words connect worlds. But I hear you anyway, in every translation I make, in every meeting I lead, in every moment when I choose to speak instead of staying silent. You taught me that knowledge opens doors. But you also taught me something more important, that courage opens hearts. I was afraid for so long, Papa, afraid to be seen, afraid to be heard, afraid to be myself. I'm not afraid anymore. I know the fight isn't over. There will always be powerful people who try to silence voices like ours. There will always be conspiracies and corruption and cruelty. But there will also always be people who stand up, people who speak out, people who build bridges. I am one of those people now, because you made me one. Thank you, Papa, for the languages, for the lessons, for the silver pen that has become my sword. I love you. I miss you. And I will carry you with me every day for the rest of my life. Your daughter, Elena. She saved the letter, closed the laptop, held her father's pen in her hand. The jade was cool against her palm. The inscription caught the lamplight. Knowledge opens doors. Elena smiled. Then she put down the pen and picked up her phone. Priya, it's Elena. I have an idea I want to discuss with you. Something that could help people like us. People who are invisible. People who have talents the world refuses to see. I'm listening. What if we created a Program A formal initiative at Whitfield Technologies? We identify employees in entry-level positions who have skills beyond their current roles, languages, technical expertise, creative abilities, and we give them pathways to advancement. Like what you did, but systematized. Exactly, so that the next Elena Santos doesn't have to wait 6 years for someone to notice her, so that talent isn't wasted because of prejudice or assumptions. I love it. What would we call it? Elena looked at the jade pendant lying beside her laptop. The character for bridge. We'll call it the Santos Initiative. Named for my father. Dedicated to building bridges between the invisible and the seen. Elena, that's beautiful. It's necessary, and it's just the beginning. 11:59 p.m. Elena stood at her window watching the city lights. 6 months ago, she had been invisible. A cleaning woman pushing a cart through hallways, emptying trash cans, wiping down tables. A woman whose gifts were hidden because the world told her they didn't matter. Now she was director of international relations at one of the world's largest technology companies. She had helped close a $300 million partnership. She had brought down conspirators who thought themselves untouchable. She had restored her father's legacy and secured her mother's future. But more than any of that, she had found her voice. Her phone buzzed with one final message. From Jerome. Proud of you, Elena. Your father would be too. Here's to the bridges we build. Elena typed her response. Here's to the bridges and to the people who cross them. She put down her phone and picked up her father's silver pen one last time. The weight of it was familiar now. Comfortable. Like holding a piece of herself. She had been invisible for 23 years. She had been afraid for almost as long. She had watched her father destroyed, her mother broken, her family scattered by forces she thought she could never fight. But she had fought them. And she had won. Not because she was special, not because she was lucky, but because she had finally stopped hiding. The world was full of invisible people, cleaning women and security guards, cafeteria workers and mailroom clerks. People with gifts the world refused to see. People with voices the world refused to hear. Elena Santos had been one of them. Now she would speak for all of them. She would build bridges between cultures, between languages, between the powerful and the powerless. She would open doors that had been closed for too long. She would prove that knowledge was not just power, but liberation, and she would never ever be invisible again. The clock struck midnight. A new day began. Elena Santos put on her jacket, slipped her father's pen into her pocket, and walked out into the world. Ready to build. Ready to speak. Ready to be seen, because that's what bridges do. They connect, they carry, they transform, and Elena Santos was the greatest bridge of all. A daughter who honored her father, a woman who saved her mother, a voice that refused to be silenced. From cleaning woman to corporate director, from invisible to unstoppable, from broken to unbreakable. This is how legacies are born. This is how justice is served. This is how one person changes everything. Not with money, not with power, not with connections or privilege or luck, with courage, with truth. With the unshakable belief that every voice matters, every story counts, and every invisible person deserves to be seen. Elena Santos proved that belief. She lived it, she became it, and now she would spend the rest of her life helping others do the same. Because languages are bridges, words are weapons, and knowledge opens every door. That's not a lesson, that's not a motto, that's not a hope, that's a promise. And Elena Santos always keeps her promises.